Good morning. This is English 8 for Friday, April the 2nd. We are looking at page 209 in your grammar book, page 209. Go ahead and turn there very quickly. While you're turning there, let's review for a moment. We said last lesson, I believe last lesson, we talked about the fact that when you have a comparative adverb, we are talking about using how many items? We're talking about two. We're comparing two things, okay? When we have comparative and we're talking about two, we use either ER or more. Let me remind you, the word I used there was or. We use either the ER or the more. We don't say he's more faster, okay? We don't say that. Okay, he is faster, okay? If it's a superlative, we're talking about three or more. I'm comparing the action of one person to all the individuals in a class, or I name individuals, but it needs to be three. When you use comparative, you're going to use the EST, or we'll use, the word most, okay? So comparative is for two, using ER, or the word more. Superlative is when I'm talking about three or more, and I use EST or the word most. Let's look at some other rules. Now, some of these are going to sound very, like, why do they even need to say that? Okay? But remember, there are words that people use incorrectly in different regions, okay? I don't ever use the word use. Yous need to go do this, or yous need to go do that, okay? Because the word is you. That's not a grammatical mistake that I grew up making. However, some of you do, okay? I have a friend in Kentucky, and she says it all the time. She's not from Kentucky. She's actually from Missouri, and she says it all the time. And, but again, I grew up in Kentucky, and as I told you before, my mom switches the words learn and teach. And she'll say, can you come learn me how to do this? No, but I can teach you how to do that, okay? So, and to some of you, you're thinking, how could she possibly get those backwards? Well, because my mom's from Kentucky, and that's a common mistake there. So, remember, wherever you go, each section of our country, and it's a beautiful and huge country, and I hope that some of you as adults, you get to travel and you get to see some of the wonderful things that God has given to us in our country. God has blessed our country spiritually. He has blessed our country with freedoms and with a beautiful and very diverse country. We have plenty of fresh water, and we have mountains, and we have plains where we can grow lots of food. Our farmers grow more food than any group of farmers in the world. That's God's blessing. And I hope you get to see this great country that God has given us as you get older. But as you travel, you're going to hear colloquialisms. You're going to hear how different words have different meanings. For example, I don't have one with me today, but if I had a drink, many of you would say you've got a pop. But in New England, they would say I have a soda. In Kentucky, where I grew up, it's a Coke. It doesn't matter what kind I'm drinking. I could be drinking a Sprite, or I could be drinking an orange, and they would all say it's a Coke. The first time my husband came to visit me when we were dating, and he said, I'll have a Coke. And they said, what kind? And he was just like, a Coke? He didn't understand the question. To me, it was just a normal question. Let's look at some of these rules. Remember, we just talked about the degrees, so look at number 2. Do not omit necessary words in a comparison. For example, it says, Thomas told him more than Dave. More than Dave what? More than Dave told him. Okay, so you want to finish your comparison. Number 3, do not use a double comparison. In other words, I said this earlier in our review, do not use ER and more. He is not more faster. No, he's just faster, okay? Only one of those. The next one are double negatives. You can only have one negative word in a sentence. Now, You've probably heard the expression before, 2 wrongs doesn't make it right. Usually that's whenever maybe a person does something to you and you try to get revenge. Maybe your brother took something, so you hit him. Well, his taking something was wrong. Your hitting him was also wrong. Okay, so you're not right in hitting him because he took something from you. Okay, now, what does that mean for us as far as grammar? It says you cannot have a double negative. You can only have one negative word in a sentence. Let's look at what the negative words are. Negative words, no, not, well, those are pretty common sense. Of course, remember, N' stands for the word not. So if it just has an N' on a word, you have to count that as a negative word, okay? The word none, never, no one, nothing, hardly, scarcely, and but when it means only, okay? If it's a conjunction, we're not talking about that. We're talking about if it means the word but, B-U-T, means only, okay? Now, don't use 2 of those words in the same sentence. 1 negative per sentence. Also, do not say all the farther instead of as far as, okay? To me, all the farther is not something I would say. I'm sure that there's someone, some area of our country that is a common phrase, but we want to say as far as or as fast as, okay? That will be correct. Do not add an S to anywhere, everywhere, nowhere, and somewhere. So don't use the word anywheres or nowheres, okay? Do not add an S to those words, okay? It ends in the word where. Next, the word some. The word some, do not use it as an adverb. Make sure you use the word some as an adjective. If it is an adverb, we should use the word somewhat. Somewhat, okay? I might say your sentence here, Jackie is doing somewhat better in science this year, okay? Because doing somewhat describes doing. That's an adverb. Now, if I said I want some or somewhat milk, I want some milk, because now some is an adjective describing the milk, but somewhat is an adverb, okay? And the last one is do not add an S to the word way, ways, okay, when you're referring to distance. The farmer's market is a long way from our house, okay? And I've been guilty of this one, of saying, hey, it is a ways down the road. No, it's not a ways down the road. I don't do it often, but I have said that. No, it's not a ways down the road. It's a long way down the road, okay? So let's be very careful about them. Let's use these. Let's look at exercise A together. Of the 2 men, Aaron Burr's character was some or somewhat questionable. Okay? What's the word that it's describing? It's describing was questionable, telling us how questionable was Aaron Burr's character. So it is somewhat, because it's an adverb. Aaron Burr claimed he did not ever or never conspire to commit treason. Aaron Burr claimed that he did not, that's our first negative, so I have to choose the word that's not a negative, ever. Number 3, he was arrested somewheres or somewhere in Alabama and charged with treason. The answer is somewhere. Although he was acquitted, he never held no or any public office again. Well, we already have the word never, so I have to choose the word that's not negative, so it is any. Although he was acquitted, he never held any public office again. Abraham Lincoln wasn't or was but 51 when he was elected president. Okay, Abraham Lincoln was but 51. Now to hear the word but 51, the word but is used to mean only. Okay, so Abraham Lincoln was only 51. Since I have that word meaning only, it's considered a negative word, so I cannot use wasn't. Number 6, it was a long way or ways from the log cabin where he was born to Washington, D.C. It was a long way. He was the most capable or most capitalist leader in the Union. I can only use one superlative, so he was the most capable. Look at number 8. Lewis and Clark could not find water passage anywheres to the Pacific Ocean. Anywhere. They traveled as far as, or all the farther, they could, searching for the Northwest Passage. They traveled as far as. Sacagawea was a better or more better guide than anyone or anyone else in their party. Sacagawea was better guide. She was a better guide because we only want one comparative there, okay? Sacagawea was a better guide than anyone else in the party. Teddy Roosevelt explored a long ways or way down part of the Amazon River when he was no longer president. He explored a what? A long way. The artifacts he sent back from the Amazon proved somewhat or some important to the beginning of the Smithsonian and history exhibits. They proved somewhat important. How important? Somewhat important. It's an adverb. Donald Trump was older than any or any other president when he took the oath of office. It is any other. The candidates traveled as far as or all the farther they could during the campaign. The candidates traveled as far as. James Buchanan was the only president who did not ever or did not never marry. He did not ever marry. President Rutherford B. Hayes didn't never or ever allow alcohol in the White House after he was elected. Who was that? It is ever. He was not the only president, by the way, that did not allow it. We've had many of our presidents did not drink alcohol, but we had several that did not even allow it to be served in the White House, which is a good thing. The Bible teaches us that we are to stay away from liquor, a hard drink, and wines. Okay, number 17. Of the two explorers, Sir Walter Raleigh's colonization of the New World was some or somewhat more important. Okay, it's an adverb, so it is somewhat more important. They traveled a long way or ways from Europe to the New World. They traveled a long way. Okay, Samuel de Champlain, the founder of Quebec City, explored more land than John Cabot or John Cabot did. It's more than John Cabot did. We have to complete the comparison. Sir Francis Drake's ship, the Golden Hind, was faster or more faster than any other ship. His ship was faster. So let's review here for a moment. If I have a word and I need to decide to whether to use more or most or not, I have to remember only 1 degree. Either use the ER or the more. Use the EST or the word most. Only one. Only one negative word per sentence. Only one negative word. Do not use the word, do not add a letter S to a word that ends in where, like somewhere, anywhere. Do not add the S to way when you're talking about referring to distance, okay? Which word is an adjective? Some or somewhat? Some. Somewhat is an adverb, okay? Remember to complete comparisons. Let's look at exercise B on page 210. Cross out the cross-out in your directions and write the word circle. Cross out the IN in incorrect. So now our directions read, circle any correct adverb. Number 2, make corrections where necessary. That means that sometimes we're going to have to mark out the whole thing and put a whole new adverb. Okay, so let's look at it. Number 1, Daniel and I walked all the further we could before lunch. Well, what's wrong with that sentence? All the farther should be as far as. Daniel and I walked as far as we could before lunch. Number 2, Miguel ran all the faster he could run in order to win the race for his team. What is incorrect? All the faster. We don't want to say all the faster, we want to say as fast as. So Miguel ran as fast as he could run in order to win the race for his team. Number 3, Pat's grades are some improved over last semester. They're not some improved, they are what? Somewhat improved. Good. Landon jumps more higher than anyone else on his team. No, Landon jumps higher. Just mark out the more. Only one of those. Of the 2 ties, this one looks neatest, Avery. No, if we have 2 ties, we don't want to say neatest, we want to say neater. Here's what I'd like for you to do. I'd like for you to finish this exercise, exercise B on page 210. It is 6 through 15. Make sure you do them in your book. You will need to do this before you take your quiz. All right, have a great day, guys.